evening, everyone. I'm Karen Guava, and last September I had the pleasure of being called here to Munster United Church and to Ashton United Church. And I very soon discovered that Munster had an extensive pastoral outreach program. And this pastoral outreach program has brought hope and compassionate caring and the good news of the gospel to hundreds of people in this community and Ottawa and the whole valley. And it's done so through worship leadership and through pastoral visiting for several decades. And the amazing thing that has been done through one person, Lillian. And we are so pleased and proud and privileged to call Lillian a member of our congregation here at Munster, and I know all the Munster folks are in the background there after coming up in the kitchen. And as a presbytery, we're celebrating also and giving thanks tonight that we are also blessed to have been able to and continue to share in Lillian's extensive lay ministry. She participated in presbytery as Munster's rep for many, many years, for which we're very grateful. And as a licensed lay worship leader, she's been to many congregations and served here. And over the last 12 years, she's been a member of the Presbytery Chaplaincy Committee. So it's a real privilege for me to be speaking on behalf of both Munster and the Presbytery and just raising up with thanksgiving your extensive ministry. Lillian has provided worship services and pastoral visiting at various nursing homes for many years, and she's continuing to do so at Granite Ridge in Stittsville, at Stittsville Villa, Richmond Lodge, and Good Companions. And I recently had the pleasure of sharing the chancel with Lillian for an Ecumenical World Day of Prayer service. And I can tell you that when she read, everyone sat up and took notice. She has got an amazing preacher's voice. And that beautiful stained glass window that you see beside Glenn there, at the back, of Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane, was donated by Lillian and her son Keith, who is here, and her son Clifton, in memory of her beloved husband Clarence and his family. And Jesus' words in the garden, "Not my will, but thine be done," remind us of Jesus' dedication to God and his willingness to give himself for the sake of others. And these words seem to guide Lillian's life. She goes where God calls her. And when I visited her recently, she told me about a woman on her floor who had just moved in and was kind of keeping to herself. And I could tell that, Lillian, you were just itching to go and have a pastoral visit. Lillian trained and worked as a teacher, and then in 1990, she decided to go back to school. And she wanted to expand her Christian education. She completed a Bachelor's of Theology and then a Master's of Mission Studies at St. Paul's. And she made several trips to the Holy Land. Lillian has been a hospital visitor at Queensway Carleton and the Royal Ottawa Hospital. Today, the Presbytery Chaplaincy Committee wanted to especially raise up with thanksgiving Lillian's 25 years of visiting at the Civic Hospital. And if it was Friday morning, Lillian was on the wards, and Peter's going to tell us a bit more about that.
Well, when I was asked to join the United Church team at the Civic in '95, Lillian was already one of the experienced team, and she would help to mentor me as I was starting off with my visiting. As you heard, she started there in 1990, so that she has over 25 years of experience there. And it's interesting, Lillian hasn't been active for the last several months, but patients that come in now always are asking, is Lillian around? Is Lillian coming in to see me? Lillian's always cheerful in the hospital. The only time I ever heard her complain was when I didn't leave her at least 12 people to visit. I heard that several times. Lillian is known for bringing pamphlets and brochures around to the patients. I think she goes down and spends her time browsing at the Canadian Bible Society. She comes back with several handfuls of pamphlets, which she passes out to all the patients. As you heard, Lillian also served not only at the Civic, but she served on the pastoral care team at the Queensway Carleton. And it's news to me that you also were at the ROH, but I'm not surprised at that. As you heard, she does not limit her volunteer work to hospital visits. She has been a lay minister for many years, and she regularly conducts worship services in several of the nursing homes and senior facilities in the neighborhood here. She's been an active member of the Ottawa Presbytery Chaplaincy Committee for over 15 years. I seem to be it longer than that, but certainly longer than we've been keeping records. While she's not always able to attend the meetings, she does participate in the discussions when she's able. And if you have less than 5 minutes, don't ask her what she's been doing. Lillian, on behalf of the Ottawa Hospital, I'd like to present you with a certificate they have given me to give to you. This certificate is awarded to Lillian Hobbs for 25 years of service as a dedicated spiritual care volunteer. It was awarded on April 8, 2016. And that's signed by Genevieve Cote, who's the manager there of spiritual care. On behalf of the chaplaincy committee, we really love to thank you for your dedicated service to us, and not only to us, the hospital community and the greater community through the nursing homes and the various facilities where you go. Thank you again.
Still there. Well, I didn't know all those nice things were going to be said, so I put in a few lines of mine. And before I start, I brought along one picture. And I'm going to ask you to take a look at it and see if you can tell how this picture is the last time and the first time. You take it down and pour water as you see. Give it to the first person there, pass it on, and see how you can identify how it's the last time and the first time. But move it along because we don't want to lose too much. Ottawa Presbytery organized a team of visitors to the Civic Hospital the same year as General Council met in London, 1990. In September, Shirley Black was put in as coordinator. Lyndall Hughes and I were the team. A course of 10 weeks with one session of 3 hours each week was organized. I drove to the Roman Catholic Church in Orleans for 7 o'clock in the evening to attendees. One could start doing the visiting when they were on the course. For each visitation in the hospital, you made your way along, and as the interest seemed to make, you never were sure what all you were going to do, but you were going to a certain number to see a certain person. There was always a challenge after introducing yourself, how to be friendly and cheerful to promote goodwill and encouragement. Once, when after visiting a male patient with a male visitor present and discussing I don't know what, I heard after I stepped out into the halls, well, that was a cheery one. It made my day. Certain serious illnesses or injuries tugged at your heart with compassion, concern, and prayer to God. Usually I had a little brochure from the Bible Society to offer. Most people were pleased to accept it. Visiting teams from other denominations shared the same pastoral care room at the Civic, so it was good to share ideas with them. And the hospital gave annual breakfasts and luncheons at times, and in appreciation. In 2002, I joined the chaplaincy committee, and I met Jeff Ford, who was gathering a visiting team at the Queensway Carlton. I joined it and had 5 busy years there. But in November 27, I took a painful inflammation in my right knee, so that limited my activity for over 2 months, and I did not make it back to visiting at the Queensway. So 5 very busy years ended there. After a heart operation, October 17th last year, 2014, I hope to get back to visiting at the Civic the next summer. I phoned Peter to say I hope to make it by mid-June of like last year. But the first week of July, I was diagnosed with having shingles. When I headed for the chaplaincy meeting last November in Parkdale, I took along the identification for the key and thus for your parking. I was hoping to call there after the chaplaincy meeting at Parkdale, but then we talked, the time was getting on, winter, you see, November was coming, so it didn't seem advisable. So I reluctantly handed in my key to Peter. So that ends really my volunteer work. And you may notice I'm still not a good walker. I can't believe that. But I'm not all laid up. I am still doing volunteer worship services in homes. What the last thing in that picture was that I was doing. Can anyone get it figured out? Well, I'm sitting there with my blue jacket on that we wore when we visited, and I have my ribbon with my identification around my neck. So obviously I was on the job. It was the last time I visited personally a patient in the hospital. But what was the first time?
The baby.
Anyone see what the first time was? Oh my goodness. Did you notice that little baby on my knee? She's only a day and a half old. She's another great granddaughter.